Do you ever wonder how some people just know their time is coming? My grandmother did. She didn't say it out loud. She didn't leave a note. But looking back, I realize she was telling me in her own way. Not with words, but through small things. The way she moved, how she talked, the light in her eyes. At first, I ignored them. I thought she was just getting older, tired, maybe having an off day. But after she passed, I kept thinking, she knew. She was preparing. And now I see those same signs in other elders. Subtle changes that aren't just about aging, but about life gently letting go. In this video, I'll share with you 7 signs my grandmother showed me before she passed. Signs that doctors quietly recognize, but families often miss, until it's too late. If you've ever loved someone in their 70s, 80s, or beyond, you need to know these. Stay with me until the end, because once you understand these signs, you'll never see your loved ones the same way again. Let's begin. Sign 1. She stopped planning for tomorrow. My grandma used to plan everything. Sunday meals, spring flowers, grandkids' birthdays. But in the last year of her life, that changed. She stopped talking about next season. She gave away her favorite books. She even started telling us stories from her childhood, as if she was wrapping things up. One day I asked her, "Grandma, what do you want to do for your birthday next year?" She smiled gently and said, "Let's just make this one special." It wasn't sadness. It wasn't fear. It was peace. Like someone who knew they were coming to the end of a very long book. Doctors say this is common. A quiet withdrawal from the future. A focus on the now, the moment, the memories. It's not depression. It's not giving up. It's the body and soul beginning to settle. So if someone you love no longer talks about next time, listen with your heart. They may already be saying goodbye. Sign 2. She slept a lot more than usual. At first, we thought she was just tired. But then it became a pattern. She would sleep through the morning, take naps after lunch, doze off even when the house was full of laughter. And when she was awake, she'd often stare out the window. Calm, quiet, almost like she was dreaming with her eyes open. At one point, I asked her if she was okay. She said, "I'm not tired. I'm just resting my bones." But now I know it was more than rest. Doctors say that as the body begins to slow down, it naturally pulls energy inward. Cell repair slows. Organs begin to conserve. And sleep becomes the body's quiet way of preparing. It's not laziness. It's not boredom. It's nature. A slow, soft unwinding. So, if someone you love is sleeping much more than before, don't shake them awake. Don't rush them back to the world. Sit beside them. Let them rest. Hold their hand. Because those moments, even in silence, may be more precious than you realize. Sign 3. Her eating changed in a way I didn't expect. My grandmother used to love food. She'd bake sweet pies in the fall and warm chicken soup in winter. Meals were her way of showing love. But near the end, She barely touched her plate. Even her favorites didn't tempt her. She'd eat 2 bites, smile, and say, "That's enough for me." At first, I thought it was worry, or maybe a stomach issue. But the doctors explained, when the body is preparing to shut down, appetite fades naturally. The digestive system slows. The body stops asking for fuel it no longer needs, and food becomes less important. It was hard to accept. I kept offering her treats, hoping to see her smile again. But eventually, I realized what she needed was presence, not pressure. So, if someone you love is eating less, especially when nothing else has changed, don't panic. Offer comfort, soft foods, warm tea. And understand, sometimes the heart is fuller than the belly.
Sign 4. Her hands started letting go. There was something about her hands, once firm, steady, always knitting or folding or patting the heads of grandchildren. They began to tremble. She dropped things more often. She stopped opening jars or writing long letters. Her hands grew still. But what caught my heart was this: she stopped reaching. She didn't hold my hand as tightly, didn't fuss with her rosary beads. And when I helped her down the stairs, her grip was barely there. Doctors say grip strength is a quiet marker, not just of muscles, but of the body's overall resilience. As energy fades, the first thing we often lose is the strength to hold on. And somehow it felt symbolic, like her hands were telling us, "I'm tired of holding on. It's okay to let go." If your loved one's hands feel different, less strong, less certain, don't ignore it. Hold them anyway. Hold them longer, because even in letting go, there's still so much love left to give. Sign 5. Her balance shifted, in more ways than one. My grandma used to walk with grace. Not fast, not loud, but purposeful. Every step had rhythm. But that changed. She started swaying slightly, needed walls or furniture for balance. Even getting up from a chair seemed to take effort, like her body wasn't fully hers anymore. One day she nearly fell while reaching for her cup of tea. That's when we knew something deeper was changing. Doctors say that as we near the end of life, balance becomes fragile, not just in the legs, but in the brain. The body's center of gravity begins to shift. Nerves fire slower, muscles respond less, and suddenly simple steps feel like mountains. But here's what struck me most. She wasn't afraid. She moved slowly but with a kind of quiet acceptance, like someone walking through a familiar dream. If someone you love starts needing more support, walk beside them. Match their pace. Let your strength become theirs. Because even when their balance fades, your presence keeps them steady.
Sign 6. She started saying thank you more often. In her final months, my grandmother thanked us for everything. Tiny things. Thank you for the tea. Thank you for fluffing my pillow. Even just sitting beside her, she'd look into her eyes and whisper, "Thank you for being here." At first, I thought she was just being polite, but it became so frequent, it felt different. Later, I learned this is something caregivers and hospice nurses often notice. As elders sense time growing shorter, they often begin giving emotional closure in small, subtle ways. They start wrapping up conversations, leaving nothing unsaid. She thanked the nurse who helped her bathe. She called my mother just to say she loved her. She even told her old friend over the phone, "We had a good run, didn't we?" This wasn't fear. This wasn't sadness. It was her heart, gently closing its chapters. So if someone you love begins to say, "Thank you," a little more, not just with words, but with their eyes, their tone, don't brush it off. Lean in. Listen. They may be giving you a gift, a proper goodbye, wrapped in grace. Sign 7. She glowed in a quiet, almost sacred way. This one is hard to explain. There was a moment in the last week when my grandmother just glowed. Not like a light bulb, not magical, but something about her presence changed. She looked peaceful. Her breathing had softened, and though her body was weaker than ever, her face looked calm, even radiant. It's something many families notice, but few talk about. Doctors say the body sometimes enters a phase of serene stillness before the final days. The fight is over. The struggle ends. And what remains is peace. She was no longer afraid. Nor were we. That last night, I sat beside her, held her hand, told her I'd be okay. She smiled. Just once. And that smile is something I will carry for the rest of my life. Closing message from my family to yours. If you're still watching this, thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for wanting to understand. Because these signs, the shift in sleep, the change in appetite, the subtle goodbyes, they aren't just warnings. They're invitations. Invitations to be present, to slow down, to say what matters most while there's still time.